Hi, my dear learners of class 12. Let us look, let us look at one of the most important poem of your syllabus. That is the Roadside Stand. The Roadside Stand, as you all of might know, that this poem is written by Robert Lee Frost. Robert Lee Frost, an American poet and a great name in American English literature and a great name in English literature. In this poem, Robert Lee Frost actually talks about the miserable condition of those poor farmers or those poor vendors who actually sold their simple just agricultural products like vegetables like fruits that they grew just by the side of the road. But those people who went past their just stands or went past their shops just at the roadside, they hardly just stopped. If they stopped, they simply made some hurting comments. But they never ever showed their interest in buying those cheap just vegetables or those cheap fruits. So actually just the poet is very much grieved and very much sad to see the miserable condition of those you see this those owners of those stands. They had at the roadside, particularly for earning some amount of money to make their life better. The poet shows his anguish, his anger, and even his frustration. Why? Because he's unable to do anything particularly for the upliftment of these people. You see this is very much, you see, angry at the system and angry even at the government, that the government or those agencies related to government make many just promises, but they never ever show least interest in keeping their promises. And so these poor peasants or these poor just vendors or sellers only suffer and fail to raise their standard of living. Now let us look at the poem line by line and have a better understanding of this poem. And before heading straightway into the text of the poem, my dear learners, I would like to advise you to please keep the text of this poem open, because if you watch this video with the text of this poem open, you shall have better access to this poem. Otherwise you'll find it a little bit difficult to understand my words and to understand the poem. So now let us begin the poem and see what does the poet speak in this poem. Let's see. The little old house was out with a little new shed in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. So let's look at the first two lines. See, he says that there was a house. There was a house just close to the road mentioned in the poem. The poet here mentions the road and mentions the house, and this house was just close to the road. And this house owner had come with a new shade or a new stand just outside or in front of his own house, close to the roadside. Actually, the owner had set up a new stand, particularly for selling some cheap eatable items like some vegetables and some fruits, with this hope that by selling these cheap agricultural items, this farmer or this vendor would be able to make his life better, just as the life of those people he had seen in the movies. He says, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled, and he says that roadside stand means that roadside stall, pathetically requested, in a very pathetic, or in pathetically means in a very measurable manner, pled, requested. So see here, there is a very good example of personification. Stand is here given human-like treatment. So he says that stand, that non-living object, made a kind of a measurable appeal to those people who went past that place, to come down from their car, or to come out of their car and to buy these cheap vegetables or fruits in order to help that poor vendor to earn something and make his life better, you see. Pled. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread, a piece of bread. Here the poet makes this point absolutely clear, that this vendor who was selling at the roadside was selling actually particularly for earning a small piece of bread. No, he was not selling vegetables and fruits particularly for earning his bread. No, he was selling only to earn some ready cash to make his life better. Why? Because why the life of the people in the city is better? Because they have ready cash. It is the ready cash, it is the money that makes the life of the people, makes the life of the city people better. So this vendor, this roadside seller was selling fruits and vegetables not for earning his bread, but for getting some ready cash. See this? But for some of the money, the cash whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. So see, the flowers of the cities means the people, the gentry, the city people are called flowers. Why? Because their life is quite decent, their lifestyle is quite decent, their standard of living is much better in comparison with the life of these poor people, this poor seller at the roadside. So this seller selling at the roadside actually wanted to make his life better, wanted to raise his standard of living just like the standard of the living of the village people. And he knows that why do they have better life? Why? Because they have ready cash. So here he wanted ready cash. The polished traffic passed with mind ahead. The polished traffic means people in their long cars, those intellectual rich people in their own cars, just move past this place, went past this place, but hardly did they ever stop. See this. Or ever aside a moment, then out of sorts. Out of sorts is a kind of a phrase that means annoyance, irritation, and anger. So he says those people moving in their long cars, they hardly stopped. They hardly stopped. If they stopped, definitely they make a kind of a heartbreaking comment. They hurled some heartbreaking words at this poor seller, saying that, see, how have you painted your just stand or your shop with so dull color? How have you marred the beauty of this place by just by putting up your stall and painting it all in a gray shade and all that, instead of just buying something. See further. And at having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wood and quartz. So what I told you right in the beginning, that first, no person moving in the long car, moving in their brand new car, first stopped. First, they did not stop. If they stopped, definitely they had harsh words to throw at this poor seller, saying that, see how badly you have painted your stand, and by painting your stand with this dull pale color, you have spoiled the beauty of this very particular place. Such was a kind of a comment of that person who stopped. He says, he even commented that how have you put these signboards? The signboards actually meant for guiding the just motorist. Meant for guiding the motorist in the right direction, with the sign of N stands for north side, of S stands for south. That how have you put them upside down? How have you put these just direction related signs upside down? And how have you mapped the beauty, spoiled the beauty of this very particular place? The writer says that this roadside stand just offered, means put on sale, what? Wild berries is a kind of a fruit, in a wooden quartz, means in a wooden box, crook-necked golden squash, a kind of a vegetable with the neck a little bit bent, and with silver warts with silver spots. Or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. He says that the place was beautiful. The place where this stand was beautiful. Why? Because just behind this stand, there was hill with its all with its all majestic beauty. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? So here the writer, or you can say that vendor makes a kind of a comment that these rich people who move past or go past his shop in their long cars, they have money, but they are mean, they are narrow minded. Why? Because they do not allow their money to be spent on these items this person is selling. Because if they did so, if they spent a little amount of their money on buying these goods, definitely their flow of money from their own pocket into the pocket of the seller would help this seller make his life better. But they don't do this, and that's why they are mean. They are the people with the narrow mentality and cheap. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. Here the poet of the poem speaks that he does not think that this stand in drab color or paint somehow has spoiled or somehow has marred the beauty of this place. Now see the next stanza. The poem is a bit long, so my dear learners, I would like you to be patient till the end. So much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. So he says that he does not think that the beauty of the place is marred, and fine he has marred it, fine he has spoiled it, but he does not mind the comment of those people who come and comment that you are responsible for spoiling the beauty of this place or ruining the beauty of the place. He says, I am fine with their own comments, but it hurts me a lot that they make a promise. They make lots of promises, particularly, but they never keep it. He says, fine if they made a comment, but after making a comment, if they bought something from them, they wouldn't mind that. They wouldn't mind their comment. See, here far from the city we make a roadside stand. Here he says that the location of our stand is far away from the city. City is far away from here. And ask for some city money to feel in hand. And why are they selling? Why is this stand set up here with this intention of selling this cheap vegetable item or the fruit item, and by selling it the owner of the shop will get some ready cash to try if it will not make our being expend and give us the life of the moving pictures promise. So he says that if these people, these city people, allow themselves to spend some money, they will definitely help these poor people or poor people like this farmer to make their life better, just like the life depicted in those movies that farmer has watched or seen. See this. And give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. And now here the speaker of the poem is holding the people in power responsible for the doleful or the miserable condition of these poor people. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin, these poor people with a miserable condition are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store. The speaker of the poem says recently it is in the news, or recently he has heard the newspaper saying, or he has heard the just radio saying that very soon these poor people will be shifted from their place to some other place where almost all facility will be available, like theater will be available, just as market will be available, and there they will have nothing to bother about their life. Why? Because all their requirements will be supplied by the government and the government agencies. Such kind of a hearsay he has heard, such kind of a rumor he has heard, the speaker has heard, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. While greedy good doers, see, greedy good doers, how could greedy be good doers? Very good use of oxymoron. Two opposite words set side by side. So greedy good doers, those brokers, those middlemen who come forward and say that they are the benefactors, they are the well-wisher of these poor people, but they end up only and only cheating and deceiving them. Beneficent beast of prey, they are called beneficent beast of prey. Again, there is a very good use of oxymoron. How can beast of prey, an animal that feeds on its hunt, can be beneficent, can be good, can be kind, can be benefactor? No. Swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated to sow them out of their wits. So they bombard, they come in the life of these poor people just like swarm of flies, and they make thousands of promises. They say that very soon we'll shift you to some other place. There you will got all the facilities. You will have no problem. You won't have to bother about your future. You won't have to bother about the education of your children. You will have all the facility at your doorstep. This and that. But this only a kind of you say this illusion. Is a kind of just this kind of hollow promises they make, but they do nothing. Practically, they do nothing at all for the betterment of the life of these poor people. See, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day and destroy the sleeping at night the ancient way. So this way they make lots of promises. By making such promises, they have a better sleep, but somehow they spoil the sleep of these poor people, because these poor people start dreaming about a better life, that better life that they never get or they are never given. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. He says sometimes he feels very sad and very sorrowful to see these poor people thinking and behaving in a childish manner. That really they will be shifted at a good place with all the facilities. But the matter of the fact is that, or the harsh reality is that, nothing such thing is going to happen in their own life. Their life, they were born in dark, live in dark, and will die in dark with no facility at all. The sadness that lurks near the open window, that particular part of their stand they keep open with this hope that some car will stop and a gentleman come out of the car and spend some money buying things from them, and that money will help them make their life better. But see, nothing happened. Of all the thousand selfish cars for the squeal of that waits all day in almost open prayer. So these poor Sellers with their windows open of their shop wait and pray all through the day that some car this time or that time will stop and some person will come out and spend some money buying things. That money will help these poor vendors or sellers just make their life better. But what happens? Of all thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one did stop, but only to plow up grass. But if any car stops, that the owner of that car simply and simply shows interest in just knowing about the price of the goods, or or if any other car stop, that car simply stops. Why? Because that car, just a driver wants to use that open place, just a just open place by the side of the stand, particularly for giving a U-turn to his own car and to go in a different direction. See this. In using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound, and if some other car stopped, the driver simply wants to know where does this road lead to, or which place just this road will actually where does this road actually go, or which places does this road link to, so on and so forth. And another to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? They couldn't, this crossly, they had none, didn't it see? And even it happens, some of the car owners come out and they ask these poor vendors whether they sell gas, whether they sell the fuel, whether they sell the fuel. Then they very angrily and in a very upset, sullen tone, they say that, can't you see? Has God not given you eyes to see that here we are selling vegetables and fruit, not selling the fuel, not selling the petrol, not selling this and that? In a very frustrated and in a very angry manner, they speak like that to those people. No, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. So he says that the money in the country, or the country money, does not have that amount of value that the city money has. The people in the city have their money, and that money has great value. That money helps them grow. But the money or the grains or the just things these poor people have in them does not find the worth and value of the money of the city people. Or so the voice of the country seems to complain. And that's why it seems that the people of the country complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their plane. So he says, the poet thinks for a moment, he wishes for a moment that if he had his way to do something particularly for the betterment of these poor people, he would try his level best, or he would have tried his level best, or he would do a little to make the life of these people immensely change in a single stroke or in a single blow. But he sadly says that it is almost impossible for him to do so. And the next day, as I come back into the scene, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. So he says, is it possible for him to extend some help to these people? No, probably not. It is almost impossible for him to think so. He thinks so, but somehow is unable to do so. He tries to step into the shoes of the poor people. He tries to place himself at the place of the poor people, and 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 hope that he will get help from this poet like person or some other person. But he thinks that if he places himself at the place of these poor people and hopes some help from others, I think his hope will always be hollow hope. His hope will never be fulfilled at all. I wonder how I should like you to come to me. So he says, with surprise he thinks so. Or surprisingly, he puts himself at the place of these poor people, these poor sellers, and offer to put me gently out of my pain. And he will offer to put me gently out of my pain. And sometime he offers, he tries, he hopes to provide them some relief, to provide them some help, and help them in making their life better. But he finds it almost impossible to do that. So see, in short, I would like to tell you that the poet is very much frustrated to see the miserable condition of these roadside sellers. They have their stand there or stalls there. Why? Because they want some ready cash by selling their just agricultural products like vegetables, fruits and all. But they fail. They have lots of hope from the government and the just concerned authorities, but the concerned authorities and agencies of the government come and make lots of hollow promises, but those promises are never meant to be kept. And in this way, the life of these poor people undergoes no change at all and remains as it is. So that's it, my dear learners, in this video. I hope you may have understood this poem better. If even after this explanation you have some doubts, feel free to make a comment, and by making comment let me know. Thank you for watching, my dear learners, this video of mine.